This conference is now being recorded. Stop fucking calling me, man.
I guess we'll just go right into the intro to the podcast right away. That's probably the better.
I don't think they know who we are yet,
Who I
right?
am, yeah. Hey guys, I'm Rob. Um, Welcome to our new podcast. This is my co-host Johnny Canhammer.
Hey guys.
Podcast is called The Playbook, Relationships and Reinvention After 30. So really the quick intro here is kind of came up from a conversation Johnny and I were having in Playa del Carmen of all places. Johnny runs another channel. I'll let him speak to that in a couple of seconds, but he runs another channel, and I was down in Playa del Carmen. He happens to be working out of there. We got together and we started talking. We have a very similar story. Got to talking about our experiences, and obviously that's a very common experience, kind of resetting your life after 35, after 30, whatever your age is for men, after divorce, after breakups, after losing a job, or anything that sort of happens in your life where it makes you rethink your future. Extremely common, and for a lot of times for a man, it's a relationship that does it for you, but doesn't always have to be. So Johnny has some great content. I'd encourage you. We'll put his channels in the show notes. You guys can check it out. But we had a great discussion in Playa del Carmen by the pool, and we were riffing for about probably an hour and 20 minutes, I think, Johnny. We had a pretty good discussion, but there was some background noise. We were right beside a gym, and there was some background noise where after like 45 minutes, you started to hear the background noise come in, and a lot of people are commenting that I want to watch it, but the noise isn't helping, and it was making it pretty difficult for people to hear it. So we started talking and said, hey, why don't we just get on a weekly podcast, have a discussion. We're going to theme them, so you guys can have a look at kind of what we're going to be talking about. It's pretty common themes, but just so we don't go off on tangents and start riffing for hours, because we can, one of the things we did agree on is that we can talk about this stuff for hours. So yeah, without further ado, I'll let Johnny do a bit of an intro there, but that's essentially what we're going to be doing here for the next bunch of weeks, hopefully in perpetuity. And thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Hey guys, my name is Johnny Kendhammer. I started a YouTube channel about, 4 months ago. It was originally going to be for like online dating, but then the more I was like talking about things, my story is, I'll let you guys watch the channel, but brief intro is I got divorced at 34, was not much of a man at all, overweight, didn't know how to lead, very upset about being divorced, thought my life was over, thought my dating life was over. And then, fast forward to 8 years now later, just growing as a person, really changed my life around. And then when me and Robbie were talking about this on the roof, we're just doing an interview, we literally talked for an hour and 20 minutes and just had to cut it short because these are the things that I could talk about all day, just things that I didn't do right in the relationship, things that I've learned, my story about overcoming divorce, what it was like being divorced, just how tough that was. If you've never had to go through that, you don't really realize how much pain is involved with that. Today's topic is about red pill. I guess I'll let Robbie introduce that, but that's kind of what got me started in this journey originally. But a lot of the guys that I've met didn't have the same experience. They hadn't been divorced. A lot of them didn't have any experience with dating at all. So it was interesting when Robbie and I connected that we do have pretty similar stories. And so that's kind of where this podcast was coming from.
Yeah, and I think it's always good to keep on a certain theme. And when we were kind of planning the work for these discussions, we kind of did a bit of research, and there's literally 200-300 topics you can plan in this realm. And if there's a few things that resonate with people online, especially you don't have to be going through a specific issue to be on YouTube trying to find this stuff. I think if you're proactive, say in your 20s, say you're just starting your 30s, or even there's people that are doing this content into their 60s, right? That I think Johnny and I both follow. So there's never a wrong time to get into it. I think you don't need to wait until something happens. You can kind of just be prepared for it, be a bit more proactive. And that's kind of leading into the first topic. There's really no reason why we chose this one to start with. I think everybody would know it. If you watch this sort of content, you're going to know exactly what we're talking about. But essentially, the title for today's podcast is the red pill, the blue pill, and the truth in between. Most people say that the truth usually lies kind of in between, whether that's politically, whether that's just somebody telling you a tall tale when you're friends. Usually, the truth is somewhere in between what they're saying, what the two extremes are, and usually you find that in the red pill, blue pill community. So I don't think I have to define it, but I think what I'll do is, most people who haven't really gotten into that content, the red pill is more of, the masculinity about, waking up to the nature of how women act and how what men should be, what they appreciate in men. And there's a ton more stuff, but just that's the gist of it. And the blue pill is basically just it's themed around naivety. It's themed around men that are looking for romance, that are overlooking a lot of things, that don't have a lot of boundaries, that sort of overlook things until it's too late, and then they end up on the short end of the stick on a divorce trial or whatever happens. So I think in going through anything that I've gone through in my life, it's always the center, right? You always don't want to get too extreme. I think that does breed to a lot of problems. And I think, Johnny, when you're going through your journey of the past, say 5-7 years, did you ever run into this content that much, or did that sort of guide you and kind of how you shaped the next few years of your life?
So when I was going through separation, my wife told me, it was over.
Mm,
I was upset for a few months. I wasn't really doing anything, but it was when I discovered red pill that I started to kind of change my mindset. It kind of woke me up to the fact that hypergamy does exist,
hmm
and it got me realizing like I'm not improving. I'm not becoming any better. I'm not becoming a better version of myself.
hmm
It's something that I mean, as dumb as it sounds, I didn't actually know that I could improve myself. I thought I
hmm
was just the way I am. Like I'm quiet, I'm shy, I'm overweight, I'm this, this, this. And then reading The Rational Male is what really woke me up to the fact that women want dominant men, they want leaders, they want guys that
hmm
are, have a social circle, stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, it's great advice. I think the reason why we themed this for those of you who are watching, the reason why we sort of themed this episode, the truth is right down the middle, is that there's a lot of polarizing content, out there, and I'm sure you've seen it, when it comes to like guys like Andrew Tate or guys like you mentioned the Rational Male. I think sometimes a lot of the content creators they will dive into one side of the extreme, right? And the danger is that some people, especially if you're going through divorce and there's all this content that's out there, sometimes you have that confirmation bias, right? You say, well, I got the short end of the stick in my divorce. I'm going to dive deeply into becoming bitter. There's a couple of different ways you can take it. And I think the idea is it's never a good idea to get too much into the extreme, because then you can get bitter. Then you can say, well, if a girl doesn't, want me, if I'm high value, if a girl doesn't want me sleeping with a bunch of women, doesn't matter. Like that's what I'm going to do, right? Because that's what that's what I'm going to build
yeah.
myself into, the person who can do that because you're a clone of Andrew Tate or whatever. Like that's kind of the mindset that a lot of people are getting into. I think that can be a bit toxic out there.
Yeah, I've met a lot of guys who, they have that narcissism of I'm the prize, I'm the red
hmm
pill, like I've red pilled, I'm the prize. They
hmm
have a lot of trust issues with women that they're all going to cheat on them or they're all going to monkey branch.
hmm
Um, so, I mean, yeah, obviously red pill has a lot of great stuff in there that does help you. But if you're taking it to those extremes where
hmm
I'm always right, I'm the prize, I don't need you, I
Yeah.
can't trust you, you'd always look for better options,
hmm
which, I mean, hypergamy is real. They will look for better options if you're not living up to the man that you can be and then you're
hmm
not trying to improve. But
Yeah.
I don't think that that's like every girl's gonna just leave you all the time. Like,
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of like, again, going back to the somewhere down the middle, like take. looking at political truths, right? Looking at the liberals versus conservatives, and I think it's gotten completely out of control with tribalism. It's gotten, either you're on one side or the other, and you can't mix ideologies at all, because if you're liberal as a man, you're labeled as this. If you're conservative as a woman, you're labeled as this. So which is sad because a lot of them think, okay, either you're red pill and you have to identify with all these ideologies, or you're blue pill.
Yeah, if you say
And
red pill helped you, then you're on the far extremes. If you
yeah,
say believe in some blue pill stuff, you're a simp.
exactly. And I know that when when Andrew Tate first came out, I was on a couple of dates right after when he was blowing up, and the common question was, what do you think about Jordan Peterson? What do you think about Andrew Tate? And that would be the question they would ask you.
Yeah, I
And
had a girl. Yeah, she said she couldn't see me anymore after she found out I listened to Andrew Tate's stuff.
yeah, and and fair enough. Like I think when we come to know about the guy, you can have your own thoughts, and I guess as a woman, you don't know what parts of his ideologies you identify with. Like, are you running cam show rooms, or are you just looking to be a better man? Like that's the thing, right? You just never know.
Right.
The truth is in the middle. You don't know if you're just, your morals are a bit loose in terms of making money, or if you're just trying to, up your game a bit. So I think that's where it gets a bit confusing, and a lot of men, they do have to choose a certain path, right? Because I do think that when you know this stuff, you can't go back. I think
Yeah.
it's all based on the matrix, right? So what Morpheus, I think is his name, when he gives Neo the pill, I think what he says is like, once you see this, there's no going back, right?
Yeah.
So like once you wake up to like the reality of what's going on, you can't erase that in your head. You're always going to think, hey, this has at least
Yeah.
some truth to it.
I mean,
So
before I found red pill, I was completely blue pilled. Soulmate, she's the one forever.
yeah, that's a
Disney
very interesting thought.
romance. Yeah. Like, which is probably why I wasn't a successful husband. I kind of stopped trying. I thought I was like,
Mhm.
we're already together forever. You're not that happy. I'm not that happy, but it's just the way it goes.
Mhm.
And yeah, then you kind of wake up to all that. Like
Do
it's
you
not
do you
real.
think it's possible to have a successful relationship when you're, say, the man is blue pilled, say he believes in romance, say he doesn't necessarily believe that,
Um,
his wife
I
is
don't
out
think
there
it's going to
for the best
be.
option.
I don't think it's going to be a marriage you would envy.
Mhm. But do you think it's
I mean, I'm
sustainable?
sure they could stay together. I would say that my parents probably have kind of that relationship. Like they've been together for 30 some years, but
Mhm.
I don't envy their relationship. Uh,
Yeah. Well, you
when I
think
think of
it's like,
Blue Pill too, it's like the Disney romance and stuff. The wife is or what, happy wife, happy life.
mhm,
Everything they do is for their wife. They don't like a lot of them don't keep a lot of friends and
mhm. Yeah, well, I think too, and this is kind of, much larger conversation probably, but um, you know, talking about the how like the socioeconomic situation we're all in, and a lot of people are having trouble just living. So naturally, women are having to work more. They're having to get out, and there's a lot more of that two-income households, right? Because you need to have, in a lot of cases, to raise a family, you need to have two incomes, right? That's
yeah.
very common. So naturally, women are out of their element unless they want to do that.
Yeah, they're
Sometimes
not
they
hard to be
like,
feminine when you're working 40 hours a week and raising
yeah,
kids.
exactly. Plus, you're out there, with, like, say you're with other men in the workplace. That's probably the best place to meet other people, and you're kind of seeing, well, my husband doesn't show a lot of drive, or he does this or that, and then she's working with, Ted from sales or the VP, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot more options that are out there just naturally, based off of that. Um, so I think just the way that everything is sort of caught up in terms of how expensive things are, and it's putting a lot of pressure on men to to you know not just be the breadwinner, but like create that lifestyle that's very few people can actually attain. And I think part of that is, going into kind of what really is driving it, and I want to get your opinion on it, is, say, the first thing would be dating apps, right? Like that's one of the first things. It's very superficial. It's very, here's my life in 6 pictures. And a lot of women are sort of using that as a way to say, okay, I can have 40 matches, 100 matches, you name the number. I'm going to choose the best one, which inherently is not the wrong choice. Like, you can blame that really, but it's the fact that when you have that many choices, it does something to your head where everybody else is like, well, I'm not going to value, I'm not going to look at anything other than
Yeah.
maybe the boat in the picture or the travel photos or whatever. So what do you think? Do you think that's perpetuated a lot, or do you think that even created it?
Yeah, I heard something once that a woman can have 90% of everything she wants in a guy, but will focus on the 10% that she doesn't have.
Hmm.
So then when that's the case, and they can go on Hinge or Tinder and get, 100 matches, every guy's wanting to take them out for dinners, wanting to buy them drinks, giving
Hmm.
them all this validation. It kind
Yeah.
of makes it difficult to, I mean, I could see why they would be like, oh, well, maybe this guy is better than my husband or
Hmm.
whatever. But then they, if they have kids already, a lot of guys will go on a couple dates with these girls, but are they going to want to like long term be with them? Probably
Hmm.
not. So then these girls are, on dating apps for a long time. And I think it's a lot that, yeah, obviously they have tons of options, but that doesn't mean they have great options.
Hmm. Yeah, and one of the things that I find kind of interesting too, and I think we talked about that in our conversation down in Playa, where you take in enough of this content, and you will find a lot of bitter men out there
Oh, yeah.
because they've been told this or that, and they're like, they're not worried about themselves. They're sort of still playing the victim. They're still saying, well, I have a decent job. Why can't I get
I'm a
whoever I
nice
want?
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they're kind of like they're drinking the Kool-Aid. They're kind of on one side. They're taking the red pill. At least they believe they are. But they're just using that as an excuse to say, well, okay, I'm going to hold my ideology to myself, and I think I deserve the girl that I want without having to do anything because I'm the guy, right? And so a lot of
Yeah.
people will kind of like, I don't know. I think when you watch some of these channels, kind of my main point was when you go back to these reaction videos, there's a lot of reaction videos out there where there's, women on TikTok, and I don't, I don't understand that at all. Um, I get if you're making money to it, like towards it, but there's a lot of people that just have that like main character syndrome, where they're too much into their own heads as far as like who you're broadcasting to. Who are you talking to with the phone in front of
I
your
mean,
face? Like,
they get a lot of attention for that. You can get
yeah,
thousands of views for one video of saying how you're miserable in your marriage or
yeah, and but then it's
how
like,
I regret leaving my husband now that I'm
yeah,
single and I have 3 kids. Like, well, yeah, of course you regret it.
yeah, and you go on there and you start complaining. Like if it's constructive, like the stuff that you do on your other channel, you're helping people, you're using your experience. But what they're doing is they're basically complaining, right? They're saying everything else is the issue except for me. But I guess is a circular way of kind of going around my point. But I watched one, and it was an older woman that was sort of saying, "Well, I was on a date with this guy, and he was like, he asked me how much I weighed." And I'm like, I was sitting there, I'm like, that's kind of, a rude thing to do. Like, why would you do that? Like, even, I don't know if any guy with any sense,
I mean, I
you
would
know,
never think that.
I've never heard of any sort of good interaction take place after that's happened. So maybe it's like a response to like, how tall are you? How much money do you make? Okay, now you ask that question because it's like, you know,
Yeah, how do you like it kind of
yeah,
thing?
you ask stupid questions, you get stupid questions in response. But if it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm the guy, I could be as dumb as I want to be, and you just have to deal with me because you're an older lady and you don't have any options. So like it's kind of like, I hope it doesn't get into that, because there's a lot of men out there that just feel, okay, you don't have any value anymore. They've been drinking the Kool-Aid online, and they basically, okay, you should be happy to be with me. And it's like opening the door for these people to just be as insufferable as they possibly can. It's making such a huge, like such a bad impression that like it's giving them an excuse. Basically, okay, here's label the women that have value, label the women that don't have value, and
You
if
think
you
those
go
guys
after
succeed
no,
though? Like, do you think they're even like? I imagine that they're going on these dates and if they're asking those kind of questions, they're not even getting, let's say, these desperate women to want to.
well, yeah, I think that's what they're going for, and I think it's right for these other women to say, hey, like we are stuck with the the bottom feeders or the men that are just not
I mean,
trying
yeah,
anymore because you legitimately are. But I guess that's the idea of, I hope it doesn't get too far into that side of the spectrum where it's like, men are now using it as a way to just be insufferable and just being terrible people to say, well, if I go for you, you should be happy that I'm going for you.
yeah. I mean, I think those men have got their own issues. I mean,
Yeah.
what do they say? 80% of the women want 20% of the men. Like, there's not being a high value guy is a lot
Mhm.
rarer than just being some normal guy who's just like
Hmm.
just getting by. Like those women might settle for them, but that doesn't mean that they like would prefer somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the dating apps, and what's been your experience on those apps? I know that's part of your content is to, put your best foot forward, but a lot of guys are, for a lot of guys I've heard it's just not worth it to be on there.
Um, it is a mixed bag. I've reviewed, I don't know, thousands of men's profiles,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of guys who say it doesn't work, and then you look at their profile, and then there's very clear reasons why. Like their
Hmm.
pictures aren't that good. They didn't put any real effort into it.
Hmm.
If they do get any matches, they're not really texting anything interesting. So there are
Hmm.
steps to it. Being that I'm 42, I'm not matching with all 20 some year olds or anything like that. So
Hmm.
it does happen. The girl that I talked about who said we couldn't see each other because I liked Andrew Tate. She was 21 and I was 41. So you can
Yeah.
definitely get younger girls get matches, but a lot of it is girls over 30 that like me, and then
Hmm.
it's like, well, question is, why are you still single at 30 some years old? Or
Hmm.
she's single with kids. It's like, well, I don't really want to. I might go on a date with them, but there's probably no way I would ever settle down with a girl who already has kids. It's just
Yeah.
not gonna
But do you think
happen.
it's made it just so transactional? Like when I got divorced, they were, I mean, they had already been caught on for a while. I remember going like even the 90s, like you had like Plenty of Fish, you had like what was it, Lava Life or something like that.
I've heard plenty of fish.
Yeah, yeah, Plenty of Fish, Lava Life, and there was a couple other ones like Match, I think was been around for a long time. But they were always looked as they always had a stigma around them, right? That like if you could meet
Yeah,
somebody
it
in
used
real
to be
life,
yeah. I can't believe you met your husband on a dating app,
yeah, like
or
nobody wanted to say that anymore. And obviously with the apps like Tinder and now Bumble and Hinge, it's become
yeah.
relatively normal
I mean, saying
to.
that I've had great relationships with girls off dating apps though too.
Yeah,
So
I
it's not
don't think there's
impossible. Yeah.
anything wrong with it. I just think it perpetuates the idea that it's just so transactional. Like, I've had women that say, "Oh, let's compare matches," and like they're just so thrilled about how many guys they have in their inbox. Like, that's cool, but like you're basically just your profile is six pictures, that are possibly doctored up and filtered, and like
I
there's
mean, any
no.
woman can basically swipe right and get a match every time.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And
there's
there's like
six
no
times more
indication of
guys than girls on
personality.
apps too, I think.
Yeah, and so like naturally men are put into those positions where a lot of them are getting filtered out anyways, right? Like I think I'm not sure if there's a height filter, but they were
Tinder introduced a
putting
height
that
filter.
they were putting that one in. A lot of men are going to get get filtered out. But I mean, you can see their heights. If shorter guys put their height on there, then a lot of them will comment that they get filtered out. So it's like it's not even the best the way that it's out there now. It's not even the best way you know it used to be like the quick way, the easy way, right? When you're working, it was like an excuse to kind of get on there and
Yeah.
look at
I
who's
mean, there's
single.
a lot of benefits to it. Like you don't have to leave your house. Once you get six
Mhm.
quality pictures, you can use those for years.
Yeah.
But there is something to there's a guy named Tom Torero I used to follow,
Hmm.
and he always said like the reason he approaches girls in public and the street is because you're choosing them. You're the chooser.
Hmm.
Online dating, you're being chosen. Like, are you good enough to her standards for her to swipe right on you?
Hmm.
Did your texting meet her standards to go out on a date? So she's basically choosing you. So
Hmm.
immediately it's kind of the frame's off, and you're not. I don't know, when you go out and actually go approach a woman on the street and face that rejection, like it makes you a different person.
Hmm.
Whereas online dating, a lot of these guys, they have shitty pictures, and even if they do get a date, they haven't, they might not know anything about red pill, like improving yourself
Hmm.
as a man, becoming more dominant, leading dates.
Hmm.
And then they go on these dates, and then these girls complain like, "Oh, he just talked about himself," or "Yeah, he just wasn't that great. I friend zoned him." And
Hmm.
so there's still a lot to that has to be done. Just because you can get dates on online dating doesn't necessarily mean you're, I guess, gonna keep those girls around.
Yeah. And I always find too, like the biggest challenge isn't really necessarily the swiping because like, you're getting the matches you're getting, like whether you're getting a ton, whether you're getting a few, for a lot, you just need to maximize whatever's there.
Yeah, get
That
your first
sounds
six
kind of weird.
pictures going, and then you'll get matches.
Yeah, exactly. So like when you actually do get them, then you got to figure out, okay, how do we turn this into, say, a first date? And a lot of men are just kind of going through the motions. And in my experience, I'm always like, you know, I don't really want to be a clown on here for their amusement, right? Like you're just trying to make
No.
up a joke or trying to like say something other than hello, right? And I know
Yeah.
that's kind of boring, but at the same time, like I'm also
Well,
doing
I
stuff out here to to make
my
you
ex
happy.
girlfriend and I started a Hinge profile for her, so we could just kind of see what was out there.
Hmm.
Obviously, you saw the bad pictures, and then all the matches that we saw, most of the guys are saying, "Hey, how was your weekend? Hey, what's up? Hey, how are
Hmm.
you? Hey." So they don't really stand out.
Hmm.
Or you'll get guys that try to text forever.
Yeah,
So
that's another mistake, right?
one of the things with online dating is once you have like a framework, you can get dates pretty consistently. Like
Hmm.
within 5 to 6 messages, you should be almost going for her number by then, not
Yeah,
dragging it
I
out.
agree. Or a meeting, right? Or just, hey, we're not, I don't have a whole lot
Yeah,
of
I don't want to
time.
be
The
your
officer
text
does.
buddy. Like I don't have time to be doing this. If you want to meet up, let's see if we
Mhm.
vibe. If not, like
Yeah.
so, I think
Yeah.
guys
And
get caught
I think
up too.
the other thing too, and going back to the landscape of sort of where this came up, and I think the dating apps do perpetuate it quite a bit. But I also think there's the advice culture that we have now with obviously we're contributing to it with this podcast, but a lot of people are, there's a lot of clickbait out there that they are, I would call it even rage bait sometimes, where they're interviewing women on the street. They're sort of playing into the bias that a lot of people have, right? There's no, and I think that's one of the unique things that we'll be doing on this podcast is really kind of just saying both sides of it
What do you mean
and
bias
judge.
that they have?
Well, I think like say if I'm bitter or upset, say if something happened, I get cheated on or whatever, nothing else is going to guide my searches on YouTube. I'm going to be looking at, women that's cheat. The second I
Yeah,
find a channel that's bitter, I'm going to stick with that channel because it makes me feel better,
yeah,
right?
that's
That's
fair.
the
Yeah,
confirmation
they're
bias.
speaking to what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So there's just no end of these channels that are out there that will fill you with the echo chamber that you want, or the tribe of bitter men that that call themselves red pill. They're more likely black pill, which is the bitterness and
Yeah, black pill is
everything.
all like it all has to do with looks, right? Only
Yeah,
the
they think
guys that
that's
have
all
great
looks,
looks
and
get yeah,
yeah, mostly it's just the victim mindset, but
yeah.
that's
They don't
kind
want
of
to look for
naturally where we fall,
solutions.
right? So what are your thoughts on that with all the advice that's out there, like the abundance of it? Do you think that's a good thing?
What? Just the all the opinions out there?
Yeah, I think there's, what if you watch Rogan enough, he would say, the best thing to counter misinformation is more information, right? Like you can never go wrong by having more information for people to research themselves. But I also find that if you have a ton of like the way the algorithm works is that you search for say 3 videos on YouTube and now your entire page is gonna be filled with the same content. So it's kind of like, oh, you like this? Okay, you're gonna love these other channels
Yeah.
that are exactly the same. And then now you have an echo chamber of, let's all hate women or let's all, jump
Yeah.
on
I mean,
this.
and that's stuff. I mean, that's the same with politics and everything. Like,
Mhm.
you're gonna see what you want to see. I I personally don't want to associate with people that are that biased, but
Mhm.
I mean, if you're looking up negative videos, you're gonna just see more negative videos, and you're not
Mhm.
gonna change your life in any way.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that sort of contributes to it too, and I think the other side too, where there are some good pieces of advice, like get your business right. There's a ton of things that these red pill guys will say that's extremely valuable, and I think that you know throughout this podcast we're going to try to touch on that because I think if you're in a position where you just got divorced, or you're dating, or you got broken up with whatever, the main thing that you need to be thinking about is not necessarily going back into the dating pool, right? It's like, how do you make your life better? How do you become a better person? Maybe it's psychology, maybe it's looking into, for some people, maybe it's therapy. For some people, it's getting their emotions in check, right? It's really hardly ever going into the apps, going into social media, trying to fill your mind with dopamine from
Yeah,
trying to
I
seek validation.
mean, you get out of a long breakup or a divorce. Like when I got divorced, um, I wouldn't want to date the girls that would have been attracted to me at that
Mm-hmm.
time. I was
Mm-hmm.
overweight, didn't have any drive, no experiences, didn't travel, played video games all day. Like the girl that I'm attracting is not the girl that I'd want to be with. Like in my
Mm-hmm.
ideal scenario, like you you watch these movies, you're like, oh yeah, she's hot. I
Hmm.
would love a girl like that. And then you're like, well, I would never get a girl like that. So I settle
Hmm.
for this kind of girl who would take an overweight,
Hmm.
unhealthy guy. So
Yeah.
it takes time. You gotta build yourself up, which is what Red Pill unlocked in me, was just the fact
Hmm.
that, yeah, okay, I can make these changes. The more that I do lose weight, the more I do develop charisma, the more I do get the ability to just be in social situations, that improves my value as a man.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think just hopping on apps right after a breakup, I mean, maybe you'll find some stuff. I don't know that it's going to heal you or that it's going to
Yeah.
improve you right away.
Well, it's mostly validation, right? And I think a lot of people will agree, and a lot of men and women will kind of agree. I actually talked to a friend of
Oh,
mine.
I want to
Um,
share, yeah.
Sorry?
I was going to share a quick story, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, actually, before I jump into mine.
So a guy, I was reading through Reddit trying to help some guys out, and he
Hmm.
posted he was going through. I think he's 2 weeks out of divorce or 2 weeks after separating or something, and he was saying that he finally had sex with somebody else.
Hmm.
But the story of it was that he went out to the bars. He's like, I'm just gonna flirt with everybody. I don't care who, 70-year-olds, whatever. Like he just wanted to move on.
Yeah.
So he's telling the story like it's a win. Like he met this girl. She's 50 years old. They go to her car and they start slamming buzz balls, if you know what those
Hmm.
are. It's like caffeine drinks. And then they're
Yeah.
smoking weed and then they have sex in the car.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking like this is not a win. You're sleeping with like a guy as a guy, you should be sleeping with girls that are younger than you, more
Hmm.
attractive, and like
Yeah.
sleeping with a 50-year-old slamming beers in her car, smoking weed, like that's not a win, that's a loss. And
Yeah.
if
Well,
you're like that's not helping you move forward.
yeah. It's validation, right? That's the thing,
Yeah.
and that's sort of where these men will actually fall into the trap of becoming bitter, becoming one way because they're driven that way because they need to just say, well, I don't have the girl anymore. That's me validation. I need something else quick,
Yeah.
right? And so that's one way to do it. I know a lot of people do that. I know a lot of women do that too. And the story that I was going to tell is like I was talking to a friend of mine who was a woman, and she was talking about essentially what she was thinking was like the complete opposite, where she's like, oh, men get over women so fast, and I'm here thinking, no, it's like the complete opposite. And what we're told, if you watch channels, a lot of women will have tons of options right out of the gate, right? Tons of options right out of the gate. Men will not have those many options, so they will do the things that this guy did, right? It's because he's just looking for anybody. But women will have a ton of decent options right out of the gate. They have a ton of guys that probably are in
Women
their
don't really
social
have to
media.
work for it. They just go out and go to a
Yeah,
bar and have their orbiters.
exactly. So like the thing is, and a lot of men have to take a bit of time, and I think some men will do that. That's one end of the spectrum, but a lot of men will, go online and they'll look for ways to change their mindset to say, well, most of them will do it from spite. I was watching one show and the guy's like, yeah, there's rarely anybody that will better themselves or, go through any of these motions without having something to prove to somebody. Whether it's like you get fired, you want to prove to your next, to your boss, like you want to say, well, I'm going to get a better title. I'm going to see you on LinkedIn, or, I'm going to get a hotter girlfriend, or I'm going to get more money, a better car, whatever it is. Like you're
Yeah.
doing it
I want to
not
make my
necessarily
ex
for yourself.
jealous. I was like, I'm going to show you what I can do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think a lot of men can get into that mindset, and that's where they go to the red pill because the red pill is like, yeah, come on over. We're going to fill your head with all these things, and for a lot of men, that can actually distill it. And that goes for most people is like if you can distill it down and take the good parts out of it politically, whatever it is, political ideologies, whatever it ends
And if
up
you
being.
take anything too far, you're gonna anything extreme
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
no good.
Yeah. So, and that kind of like, I talked about at the beginning of the podcast is we want to sort of take a linear approach. We want to be able to riff. And for those who are listening now, we want to just riff. We want to use our experiences, but we also want to do a linear sort of progression through, say the topic introduction, all the way to hopefully a happy conclusion. So, so hopefully, you've been following us so far. And the next thing that we kind of wanted to get into from a segue perspective is getting into the dangers of it. And I think we can elaborate a bit more on, some of the traps you can find yourself in, like if you're, and I think we've kind of beaten the red pill trap with a dead, we've beaten it to a pulp here, in terms of, the victim mindset, resentment, bitterness, and things like that, tribalism. But I wanted to get your opinion, Johnny, on the trap of the blue pill, because that's where a lot of men start. When it comes to blind hope, and a lot of men that maybe get bitter, but they never lose that. So they're like, oh, there's still somebody out there for me. There's still, I'm doing everything right. I'm the nice guy,
Yeah.
ignoring reality, so to speak. So what are your comments on that? I think, we know there's
Yeah, I
not a lot of
think,
chance for all these guys, but what do you think?
I've talked to guys who've been hung up on divorce, separation for like years.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
she's still the only one I think of. I can't move on. They
Yeah.
still
Not
have that
uncommon.
fantasy of like, yeah, soulmate kind of thing.
Mm,
Meanwhile, she's off with her new boyfriend. She's traveling. She's, doing everything. So this
mm,
mindset of she's the only one, like that romanticism of, yeah,
mm,
soulmate. There's never going to be anybody
yeah.
else like her. Like that's a huge trap, and I think it's a
Mm,
way for guys to not really look inward to see like, okay, this is over, like face
mm,
facts. I have to improve myself. There's a reason why she left. A girl's not going to leave a high value guy that she loves, that she respects.
mm,
Like it's just not really going to happen. Obviously, there are situations if she cheats. Obviously, then you as a man you have to break it off. But
mm,
I think in most cases, the guy is like I was like the nice guy. I'll just speak for
yeah.
myself. Like, I was the nice guy. I would not stand up for myself. I let myself go. I wasn't a leader. I was always, what do
Mm,
you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And then when she broke it off, I'm thinking like, okay, what do I have to do to get her back? It
mm,
wasn't ever my focus was what do I need to do to just improve and become better?
yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, I think the two traps that I would think about in this case would be the manipulation. And I think, I was reading over one of your scripts for or your notes for one of your upcoming episodes, which I think, we'll get into after this podcast to make sure we get the viewers who are watching this, they pop over there. But one thing that you mentioned is that it really is manipulation, where a lot of men will fall into the trap of believing, there's the difference between nice and good, right?
Yeah.
So the stigma between the nice guy is that you're doing something because you want something else in return. And that's really the trap, is like you believe you're doing the right thing, but what you're really doing is you're doing something to elicit a response. And when you don't get that response, then you become resentful, then you
Yeah.
overthink, and then if you're emotional, then you start getting into fights. And it's a very feminine trait, and a lot of women just can't stand that, right? So I think that's a huge trap for men that just are oblivious to, like,
Yeah. You're
you know
also told like
mm,
girls want a nice guy and to just
mm,
be yourself. So you're always like,
yeah,
okay, I'm a nice guy. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do these
yeah,
things for you to see how you're a nice guy. And then the nice guy has covert contracts, whereas I'll
mm,
do these things for you. And if you don't reciprocate in my head,
yeah,
I'm not going to tell you how, then you get
yeah.
upset.
It's like the
Yeah.
noun and the
Pure
adjective, right?
manipulation.
So if somebody says you're the nice guy, it's like, okay, he's a nice guy. It's not he's describing you as your nice guy. But if you're the nice guy, then you're describing a set of traits, right? And that's where a lot of people don't really get it, is that it's like, it's not about, oh, I can't be nice. What do you mean? Like, no, 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 you're
No,
not
you're nice
proving
because you
the
want to
point.
be, and that's like who
Yeah.
you are, but you're not doing it to get something from somebody.
Yeah. Or you have no boundaries. You go, oh, you want me to stay home because, you don't have anything to do tonight, so I'll stay home. And then you're saying, well, okay, I don't have any boundaries, but I'm doing it because I think I'm going to get something else in return. And when that doesn't happen, they're like, well, hey, what happened? You know,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
nice, you just do it because you're good, right? You're kind. You want to stay home with the person. But there's always something else, like you mentioned, in covert contracts, right? Um, and the other trap that I would say, um, I'm trying to think back on it. So I discussed the first one, which would be kind of manipulation. And I think the second one is always kind of putting yourself last, right? And thinking that if I do this, the woman's gonna stay with me. And I think you covered that too.
Yeah.
But
Happy
I
wife,
think,
happy life.
yeah,
Help her
which is
solve
just,
her problems.
and the funny thing is that and I've talked to women about this too, and I rarely ever, I don't get on a soapbox and talk about this stuff. It's only if I am around somebody who's genuinely wanting to bounce opinions off, and a lot of men, they sometimes do get on that soapbox a little bit, but that's here nor there. but what I find is that a lot of times they will think that the woman actually wants that, and the woman sometimes does think that they want that, but years in advance, like, hey, well, you haven't made a decision in 3 years. You know, I
Yeah.
can't. You've fallen into this slum of just like being lazy and not driven. You're always here, great. You're always around. That's not necessarily a good thing. But I think women don't necessarily know what they want. That's where like, oh, why don't guys do this? I'll, you know, a lot of liberal women will say this is like, okay, well, if I want to go out and chase the corporate dream, and I want my guy to stay home as the manny or whatever it is, whatever you want to call him, at the time the girl gets to go out and chase her dream, and the guy's at home, you know, taking care of the kid. But then when has that ever ended well? Like I,
It's not a masculine frame that
yeah,
you're the one staying home taking care of the kids. Man's supposed to be
yeah,
the provider. That's the way it's been for thousands of years.
yeah. And then so the girl goes off, you know, with Ted from sales, right? Because the guy's out there chasing excellence, right? And the guy's at home and say, hey, I've done what you wanted me to do. I've given up my dream so you can chase yours. We have a kid, and he's doing everything right. And he's like, I'm not the bad guy here, but you know, it's just not the role that the
Yeah.
guy should get.
Yeah. The nice guy is you're not a bad guy. You think you're
Mm-hmm.
like one of the best guys. Like, of course, I do this. I help people out even when I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to. I do everything for you, even though I'm set. Yeah. Like, I don't put myself first. Your needs come before mine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make a decision because I don't want to upset you in any way.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I actually want to do on this podcast is I know you do it on your other channel as well as you're a big reader, right? So you read a
Mhm.
lot of books, and I think that educates you on, you know, I would say I take in a lot of content, whether it's audiobooks, whether it's podcast. I haven't historically had a lot of time to sit down and read books, but I do take in a lot of content. But I know that that is the best way. You know, maybe that's obvious, but that is the best way to learn. And a lot of people just don't pick up books, right? But
Never
I would
used
say
to.
one of the ones that I've read, or I am reading, I should say, is the book called *Sapiens*. Have you ever read that? I think I told you down
Mhm.
in Playa. Um, it was actually written in Hebrew, I think, and it was translated. But it was a bestseller a while ago. And really, what it's about, and again, I'm very early on in it, but I've been very intrigued with it since the beginning. Is it's kind of going through um, uh, the timeline of humans, so Homo sapiens, which is not the only type of humans. There's other genus. I'm not a scientist, obviously, so I might be butchering this, but there's um, a few different species of humans back 40,000 years ago. Neanderthals, there's a couple other ones, and Homo sapiens were the two main ones. And the idea of the book is that it's going back to like hunter gatherers. It's going back to just how we surpassed the Neanderthals, how Homo sapiens that originated in Africa surpassed Neanderthals, which I think were over in Europe somewhere. Could be wrong. But when we met the species met, you know, obviously one's going to take over the other eventually. Some of them mated, but they're steering towards the genocide possibility where we just kind of took them over because we just didn't mix. But going back to the theme of the story, so like when he's going through the first, I guess, how humans evolved, and one of the main reasons we were able to win, you know, and become the prevailing species on the planet, is because we were able to organize ourselves outside of 150 close friends or close people. So think about like army platoons. Think about, you know, how we set up structures, corporate structures, offices. It all goes back to how many people you can have around you at any given point in time. And the way we do that is we have, I'll say fiction. I'm going to say religion, but I don't mean that as a way of saying it's fiction. But there's stories that we tell that don't necessarily have to be true. There's people that believe in them, and that's why I can go up to say, you know, I'm not a religious person, but say if I was Christian, I can go up to somebody who's Christian in another country. I don't know them, but I would share that in common. And you know, Neanderthals, for example, weren't able to do that, so they weren't able to sort of come together under certain beliefs. And this is kind of getting beside the point. But all that to say is that even 40,000 years ago, there were things that us as a species had, say going back to hypergamy or the war brides, right? Going back to how women act and what their nature is. and the nature. And I one of the notes I had was Robert Greene's Laws of Human Nature as well. So like that kind of took me back into Sapiens to say all these things are coming from human nature. So a very roundabout way of getting back to human nature. But if you educate yourself not just on red pill, blue pill stuff, it's like actually read into human nature and psychology and things like that. You'll learn a lot of like probably all you really need to know, about these types of things about dating. Like it's astounding how you can read a book like Sapiens and like say, hey, this has been going on for 40,000 years, right?
Yeah, we haven't really evolved
No,
much
and
over
all
the
these
last. I
things
mean,
like
technology is
with
very recent compared to.
yeah, with war brides, right, or hunter gatherers, when women had to monkey branch because the guy wouldn't always come home, and if she didn't find somebody else very easily, then
Yep.
she wouldn't be able to provide for herself and her children. Whereas men, you're always thinking the person's waiting for you at home, right? There's no reason for you guys to break up if the guy's still alive.
Yeah.
Um, so it is kind of interesting that if you just understand that this is human nature, it's not necessarily something it's been amplified, with social media, with dating apps and technology and how things are kind of going these days. But I think it's always been a part of human nature, and I think that's the downside of the blue pills and other trap you fall into is that you're just ignoring science, you're ignoring how it's always been, and you're saying, well,
Yeah,
it's
you've
because
been
social media.
brainwashed ever since a kid with Disney movies and stuff on TV and
Yeah,
things that they're
exactly.
telling you.
Yeah, and you're falling into this, and that's why the divorce rate is so high, right? Because there's a lot of guys that fall into this trap of just saying, if I'm a nice guy, if I'm good, and I do what she tells me to
Yeah,
do,
why would she
then
leave me? I did everything for her.
yeah, exactly, and that's extremely common. I wouldn't say I've fallen into that exact definition, just my experience, but I think I've seen it a lot, and I've seen it way too often, and I've seen it just in content that I've watched. That there's so many stories out there. There's guys that are marrying single moms, taking care of their kids. They're getting divorced and they're paying for the kids that aren't theirs. There's like, you
Yeah, I have
name
a
it.
story about that too.
Yeah.
So my friend here, he's going to a wedding this weekend.
Hmm.
He's marrying this girl. Apparently, she's had a kid, and they think that she cheated, and it's with another guy. But he's
Oh
still
wow.
gonna marry her this weekend, and it's like he thinks he's a good guy because he's willing to take care of somebody else's girl, and he's
Hmm.
gonna do whatever he can to support. And then it's like, well, you're just deluding. Like, there's nothing to stop her. Like, it just sounds like it's inevitable that you're getting divorced, and she's gonna cheat on you again, and
Oh,
like
it was
that
a
the nice guy that I'm such a good guy, I would do this for her is not gonna.
it was a situation where he was likely cheated on.
So apparently the story is they had a fight last week, but now they're gonna get married this week.
Hmm.
He's in the US, she's in Mexico. They had a kid, but the kid's not his. Like, she cheated on him and the kid's not his. But he's
Oh
still gonna marry her anyways. Like, he's the good guy who's gonna take care of her and this kid.
yeah,
And they
I
teach.
can't.
I mean, I remember hearing this stuff when I was growing up. Like, oh yeah, he's such a good guy. He would take
Mhm.
care of somebody else's kid like that. It's like,
Yeah, I can't imagine that. Like, can you imagine doing that? There's a lot of men out there that are like, well, I'm not going to invite the government into my household anywhere that I have to, right? And a lot of business people are already paying a ton of taxes. They're already having to structure their lives, especially in up in Canada. I don't know. Obviously, the laws are different in the States and Mexico, and how the government really has control over,
I mean,
can be
wait,
kind of
yeah,
hostile
face the
towards men.
divorce. He's gonna be heartbroken when she cheats on him again.
Yeah, well, even then, like, say you do get an amicable divorce, and what happens if the government's like, yeah, well, you invited her into your house with this kid, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to pay for the kid now because that was a choice she made.
One of my employees signed a birth certificate for his wife.
Mhm.
Turns out the kid wasn't his, but because he signed the birth certificate, he has to pay child support still.
Yeah.
It's not even his kid.
So that just doesn't make any sense to me why you would go
Crazy.
ahead with that. Like, if you want to stay in the relationship, fine, that's your deal. But to then take it a
Do it
step
out of a
further,
place of abundance. Yeah, do it because you want to, not because
yeah,
you're.
and
I have
then
no
just
other
put a
option.
legal ramification or a contract in place. I mean, I'm not against doing that. Um, I am if it's for the wrong reasons or if you're not fully, in a good situation, which doesn't seem like it's a fight last week. It's a situation that the guy's never going to get over, right?
Yeah, I think he's just out of scarcity. Like where
Yeah,
else am I gonna?
how can you ever get over that, right? It's a constant reminder. There's probably the other guy's going to be in your life. It's just not a not a good situation.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I guess
your
that's,
wife's not gonna respect you that you're taking care of some kid that's not yours. I would
yeah,
imagine.
under her breath, right? Like what kind of a guy would do that? I'm glad that he's doing that because I need a support, but what kind of an
Yeah,
actual
until she can
genuine,
monkey branch to a new guy,
yeah,
a guy that'll support her.
yeah,
Comes down to.
yeah. And it actually reminds me of this video I was watching today. It was a short. It was from a another channel that I know you and I both watched because we talked about it. But it's they put up this TikTok of this girl that had, I think, four baby daddies. I guess she was with the fourth, or maybe she was with another guy, and she brought four kids, four different guys, right? And she's saying, "Oh well," she was kind of using this. I don't even know if it's true, right? Because you never know. Like her audience might be five people, and she's just making something up. But I got to take her at her word. And she's dancing around this bathroom, like it's a nice, decent looking bathroom, I guess. And she's like, kind of making fun of people that tell, hey, if you're, a single mom, and in her case, of four different guys, she has no value on the marketplace, right? And when I say value, it's mostly just like towards other people in terms of getting into a relationship. Obviously, as a person, I'm not getting there, but value towards high value men. And so she's dancing around. And the second part of it was, oh, but I'm dancing in a custom bathroom that my husband just built me, or I think it was her husband. And so I guess she was trying to like tell people, hey, I have four
Hey,
kids
it's
with four different guys,
possible. Yeah.
but I have still the guy that's building me a custom bathroom. Obviously, the guy's nowhere to be seen, in the picture. So, who knows? But I guess the moral of the story is like a lot of guys are like, hey, you have this wrong with you, this wrong with you, but they're always going to do just fine.
I
They're
mean,
not
there's guys who
necessarily,
will still take that. Yeah, there's guys who don't work on themselves and
yeah,
will
they
take
have a
what
bit of
they can
money.
get. Like they'll be excited that a girl with four baby daddies, like, oh well, I'll be the good guy that takes care of her.
Yeah.
And but
And that's
if
the
they
point.
actually worked on themselves and
Yeah.
made some improvements, they could attract higher quality women and not
Yeah.
those who have
And
four
they
kids.
will find people. It's not, we're not saying be alone
No,
forever. They
yeah,
will find people. But the
not guys
problem
that they
is
want,
that,
but
well, I bet if I look at the social media, right? If you look at the social media where they broadcast their lives, and this is where their highlight reel is, right? So these men are never on their social media, right? Like they're rarely ever on the social media. So usually when you have a relationship, and I guess guys
I
do
mean, it's
that
a
to a
red
certain
flag that you're
extent.
on social media this much if you got.
Well, yeah, but they're not broadcasted. That's the point. Is like they're on, see, they're being flown around the world, by this guy, but the guy's nowhere to be seen. It's like if you were really that happy with the person, or you wanted to
Yeah, you'd want
broadcast
to show
him
off
rather
your
than his
husband,
money.
or yeah, you'd want to show them
So
off.
it's like I don't think people are really telling you that you can't get anybody, but it's like, great, somebody who's built you a washroom, but who is the person? Like, are you guys happy, or are they just like, is he an ATM? Because I'm sure you can do that, right? That's not like anybody's debating that.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I think the theme, um, going back to the red pill, blue pill, and I kind of don't really love, you know, talking about those things because I think it does point to an extreme, and that's kind of why I wanted to cover this as the first episode that we do, because it kind of sets the tone for the type of content that we're going to be talking about. Obviously, we're going to be getting into business, life, you name it. There's lots of different topics that we've explored, because I think it's not just one thing, right? Like we talked about, if you do go through a situation where you're getting divorced or a breakup or whatever it is, it's probably in a lot of cases the last thing you should be thinking about. So I think talking about starting a business, getting into that business idea that you have more time for, or reading more, getting your other areas of your life together. And I think that's kind of what this podcast is meant to do, and also just kind of be balanced, right? Is be balanced in your approach. And I think relationships are nuanced. So if you approach it to say, well, I'm doing everything right on my ideologies, and I'm gonna approach a relationship with a hard mindset of, this is my this is my ideology, deal with all of it, even though you don't necessarily agree with it. I think there's a lot more nuance in that. I think you'd probably agree with that. Is you got to really just approach it on a one-off one-off basis, right? Have your own boundaries before you get in a relationship, but it's not like a hard, there's no hard lines of like, you must do this, must do this. You know, reality is you just got to feel it out once you're in there.
I guess I don't understand. What do you mean? Like you should have
Well, I
boundaries.
think, well, I think you should have your boundaries, obviously, but I think, it's much different than just kind of going from, say, one end of the side. Like, say you're talking about red pill stuff or blue pill stuff. I think we need
Yeah,
to
I don't
just,
really like the definition of red pill, blue stuff either. Like
yeah.
I don't. I just do things that I'm trying to improve my value as a man
Mhm.
in any ways, like whatever I can do, working out, business,
Mhm.
being more dominant, getting dates,
Yeah, but that means
working
that's
out.
something that resonates with you, right? That's the nuance, right?
Yeah,
That I was referring to is it's nuance to like who you want to be as a person. It's not, you don't have to be a clone of somebody else online. You just got to be yourself and say, there is a better version of yourself,
I mean,
right?
authenticity is the best.
Mhm.
It's the only gift you can give that no one else can give either. So
Mhm.
trying to be somebody else is not going to work.
Mhm.
You're never
Yeah,
gonna
be
you're
authentic.
never even gonna feel happy in a relationship because you're
Mhm.
fake.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true, and I think there's some people will say, oh, the prevailing, for people that care about you, like, oh, just be yourself, right? That's
Yeah, that's
the
the
thought.
standard. Be yourself.
Yeah, which is like, again,
But
we
the
just
version of
mentioned,
myself sucks. Like I don't work out. I don't
yeah,
eat healthy. I don't do anything
exactly, yeah.
productive. I
Be
don't.
authentic, but
I'm listening to. I just started a new book the other
yeah,
day. How to Break Free of Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He
okay,
basically talks about the importance of meditation and visualizing what you can become. Like
hmm,
just being yourself doesn't like that's not getting you where you were. Like the version of myself, being myself was what? Okay, I don't know how to have conversations with people. I'm overweight and I eat unhealthy. Okay, well
hmm,
that's it's not a very attractive version of myself.
yeah,
So he made a couple good points. One is I'm sure you've heard this before, your thoughts create your reality.
hmm,
But he says like if that's true, then you would never have a day go by where you thought bad thoughts or anything that would affect your reality. Like you would make
hmm,
that a priority. It's like, oh, that is a very good point. I've heard this. Your thoughts affect your reality. And I kind
hmm,
of just let it pass by. And then
yeah,
he also said, like how to meditate is if you're doing meditation and you don't feel any different afterwards, then you probably
hmm,
didn't do it right. Like I was doing Headspace for a while, like five
hmm,
minutes every morning, and I felt like I was distracted. I didn't feel like it did anything.
yeah,
Whereas if you're doing meditation properly, you're kind of visualizing things that you don't want that you're doing now. So like
hmm,
I just started this the other day. So I'm going to do a 60-day challenge. I'll let you guys know how it goes.
yeah,
But you basically focus on things that you're doing now that you would not want
hmm,
to take with you in the future, and then visualizing how you'd be acting in the future.
hmm,
So by the time this meditation is done, I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling good. It's like, oh shit, I can see the steps I have to take
hmm,
to get to a new level.
hmm,
So I'm breaking that habit of being myself. Like I'm becoming a better version of myself.
hmm.
So I thought that was interesting because yeah, that everyone tells you to be yourself and people like you. It's like, well, be your personality, but like
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
prove yourself.
oversimplifies it because you can't not just be yourself. Like the whole idea is like be a better version,
Be
right?
yourself kind of is a cop out of just like, oh, you don't
Yeah.
have to do anything. People love
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
for who you are. You're a piece of shit who doesn't do anything, but
Yeah.
somebody will love you for it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the nuance, right? Is like, do you believe in that? Do you believe it in one of the extremes where it's like I got to copy these guys that are out there, that are telling you to, you got to be on a yacht in order to get a girl, or you got to act like this, or got like act like that.
Yeah, red pill,
It
you're the
just
prize. Girls can't be trusted.
Yeah, it oversimplifies it, right? It's fine if you want to do that. Money's always been leveraged to,
Money is a good tool to have. Like I would love
yeah,
to take girls out on boats just because it'd be fun.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the leverage. If that's a leverage you need to overcome other aspects of,
Yeah, if you're
maybe you
using
being a
money
breakup.
just to get girls, you're gonna probably not feel
Yeah,
good about it. But
exactly. Yeah. So it's just whatever kind of life you want. I think, to kind of close out on the episode is it's really, when it comes to looking at the ideologies, it's really just kind of being, finding your confidence, finding what works for you, having enough thoughtfulness to think through these things, right? Understanding both and understanding that one's not necessarily bad. but it's how to, first of all, look after yourself, like look after your happiness, what you want, making sure you're, built yourself up to the point where you're happy, because pills aside, you're not going to be happy or not going to be happy with somebody else if you're not happy with yourself, being
Yeah.
alone, having your confidence built up. So I think that's kind of the main thing is when you are coming from a place of like scarcity or hurt, then you will find your tribe. You will choose an extreme. In most cases, it's like black pill, red pill, whatever you choose. Hopefully, it's the red pill if you're going
Yeah,
one
if you want to
direction.
be, yeah, if you want to be complaining and miserable about it, you can find that on YouTube. You can find out
Yeah,
how your ex is the
exactly.
worst and blah blah blah. If you want to
There's
make
always
changes, you can find that.
echo chambers out there. I think for a lot of people, it's just, develop your confidence, develop your ability to sit alone, read a book. That's the that's the main thing. But again, to close out on the topic is really, it's always somewhere in the middle, right? The truth is always somewhere in the middle, and that's kind of where it is for most things. But do your research. For a lot of these guys that are out there reading this content, do your research. I would say the more healthy version for a man is the red pill, just based off experience. But do know that it's not as extreme as what a lot of content creators will have you believe. Um, any last words, Johnny, on this topic? And I guess at this point we can talk about your other couple of channels and
Yeah.
what you're doing on your side.
I guess I will just summarize red pill,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that guys aren't getting to the extreme. Like my version of red pill, like what I would do. This is what I would tell myself right now if I was going through divorce now or looking to date women. Is one, as a man, you control your value. You're
Mm-hmm.
not intrinsically born with value like a woman is. A woman
Mm-hmm.
is born beautiful, she's beautiful. I never knew this until I got divorced. I just assumed I was not confident, I was shy, and I was ugly, and I didn't think there was anything
Mm-hmm.
I could do about it.
Yeah.
But as a man, you have ascribed values. These are things that you control. I could control my weight. I could go to the gym. I could lose weight. I could
Mm-hmm.
control my social skills. Just I'm an introvert. I don't typically go out to get energized, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not an excuse to not be able to have conversations or to make somebody
Mm-hmm.
feel an emotion or to give somebody a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Learning to like dress better, like that's something that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence is from doing things that you just become better at. Like you're not just confident in all situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So red pill to me is just finding ways to improve your value
Mm-hmm.
and not taking it to the extremes of women can't be trusted or um, I'm the prize. Like she should do everything I say, kind of stuff.
Yeah. Do it for yourself, not for other
Yeah,
people. I think
exactly.
that's
Do
kind
it
of
for
the
yourself. You're
main.
trying to improve yourself. You'll feel better doing it. You'll
Mm-hmm.
attract better people in your lives, and you'll still be like the good person that you are. Like if you're a
Yeah.
good person, like these will just amplify your traits. And the
Mm-hmm.
more good, the better you feel, the better you can make other people feel.
Yeah. And you'll realize after, months at the gym or eating better or taking in just better content or even just learning a new skill, you'll find that you're not thinking about negative thoughts as much anymore, right? That's a perfect way of getting over things, is to just
I found that was
give
the
your,
fastest way to get over my ex too, was to
Mhm.
start focusing on myself because prior to
Yeah.
that I was focused only on the past and what she was doing.
Mhm. Yeah, and if you keep it healthy, because if you're doing these things like taking drugs or drinking lots or going out for quick validation, like that's one way to do it. And maybe you're going to want to go out with your buds for the first week or two, right? It's good to connect with people and to grieve. I think that's perfectly fine. But I think you can go a couple of different directions, and as long as you go the healthy way, it does something to your mindset of being able to, first of all, not have the need for echo chambers, not have a need for people to confirm you're biased, not to feed into your confirmation bias of like how negative you are. And like it's all, there's tons of people out there that will share my opinion wherever you go, right? That's the internet. Um, so yeah, I think I would agree with what you just said. Now, we're gonna put Johnny's other shows in the show notes, but Johnny, what are your channels? Do you want to give us a bit of an intro
So
to
my
those?
main channel is Johnny Kenhammer. That's a lot of more breakup recovery, divorce recovery. That started just because of my experience with divorce, things I've learned over the last 8 years. I got divorced 8 years ago. Like I've mentioned, I completely transformed who I was, lost
Hmm.
weight, started traveling, had very successful dating life that I consider,
Hmm.
improved communication. So it's just a lot of things that I've learned trying to help guys realize what is possible after divorce or a breakup. Like,
Hmm.
you don't have to stay stuck. You can actually make it the best thing that ever happened to you. If
Hmm.
I if I didn't if my wife didn't at the time, if she wasn't the one that made the decision that it was over, I
Hmm.
feel like we would have been in that same trap, and I never would have improved myself because there would have been there's a lot of reasons why but there wouldn't have been as much need to because I would still be in that little comfortable bubble and
Hmm.
I just wasn't all that happy. So divorce actually saved my life. So the point of that channel is to kind of recognize that, you know, it can be the best thing that ever happened to you. Looking back, there's probably a lot of things that you were not doing that if you were doing, you would have been
Hmm.
happy with yourself, more attractive. Like that's when I started to learn self-development and all that.
Yeah, I think what drew me to your account in the first place, and I know you've talked about this, is just the authenticity of it, and that's sort of, it may be, we don't have professional setups for the podcast, and it'll just remain like this, but I think
Got to
that's
start
kind of what a
somewhere.
lot of people want, right?
Yeah, got to start
Um,
somewhere.
yeah, a lot of people want just the authentic viewpoints of two guys that have been through it
Yeah.
and can distill it, right? And are still working, or still works in progress. So I
Yeah, I
think,
don't claim to be an expert. These are just things that have worked for me. These are things that worked for you. I
mm,
mean, we're both in our 40s now, so these are the things that we are doing to improve our lives, improve our health, improve our dating life.
yeah, and it's still a
Um,
journey, right? I think
yeah,
there's still things that, I want to incorporate the books that we're reading and the workout plans, diets, and stuff like that. Because I think one of the things we talked about is holding ourselves accountable. If
yeah,
nobody watches this, if we're just talking to ourselves here, I think the worst thing that can happen is that we're going to hold each other accountable on some of the things that we're
yeah,
doing. And if somebody
100%.
wants to join us on the
We're
ride,
already
then
committed to doing it once a week for 12 weeks to see what
yeah,
happens with it. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And it's
just
not a big time drain. And I think, these are valuable topics. So I think, I've already enjoyed the episode. I think most of them will go for around this long. I like long form stuff. I like to riff, and I think, we found down in Playa that we can riff for an hour. So
yeah, we
hopefully
haven't
for
even
all the
scratched the surface of things that we've learned and can talk about.
exactly, yeah. So hopefully, for all you listeners out there, hopefully this made sense and you're able to follow us through. Now, to introduce the next episode, we have one more planned before we get into maybe some other topics. But the next one, Johnny, is one that I know that you're fairly, I would say you're a proponent of because I've heard you talk about it before. But the benefits of traveling,
Oh yeah,
whenever I'd say just in general, if you're a guy, traveling alone is extremely important. Traveling with a bud is fun too, but or even just doing what you're doing, right? And I was down in Playa for 2.5 weeks, working remotely, and you're down there for an extended period of time. And I know you're working remotely, you've been different places, and I think that's extremely valuable. And that's what we're going to base our next episode off of getting out of your bubble. We can get into our experiences down in Playa del Carmen, and just the benefits of, not necessarily starting over, but, just being in a different atmosphere, making new friends, different people. You can reinvent yourself to a certain degree. So for anybody that's looking, at some pointers on, how to reinvent yourself and reinvent your surroundings, the next episode is going to be a good one for you. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I mean, I think everybody should travel.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to do it by yourself. I would say by yourself to a new
Mm.
country somewhere, but yeah, definitely get out and travel. It helps you with your experiences. It shows you can
Mm.
do things that you didn't think possible. It gives you good stories for dates.
Mm.
It just makes you just a more masculine version of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Or just interesting, right? If
Yeah,
you're on dates
exactly.
and
Yeah,
you
if you
have
don't
pictures
travel
on
and have
your,
interesting stories, what are you going to talk about? Like,
yeah, exactly. Or I've been to the Louvre, talk about, and do cool shit. Like, don't just go to the
it also
beaches.
just comes up randomly in topics. Like, oh shit, that
Yeah,
reminds me of the time I was here.
yeah,
Oh, you're from
exactly.
here. That's cool. I used to live there. That's
Yeah,
it helps you connect.
yeah. I mean, it's not about just checking off boxes of like throwing darts at a globe and saying I've been there. Like, actually immerse yourself into the language and the culture. Get some cool stuff. Wherever I go, I always bring an artifact back with me.
Yeah.
and I have it in my place. I think I still have most of them actually from years back. But just those memories are just for me, they're such a huge part of I wouldn't say who I am. That's getting a bit deep, but I would say like it's a huge part of my experiences of where I've been and the things I've seen. So you always want to keep those in your head. They're great experiences, whether with your significant other or alone. So yeah, that's kind of what we got planned for next Thursday. We're going to be doing this weekly. We're shooting these on Wednesday and we're getting them out to you on Thursday every week. So be sure to, you're probably seeing this on YouTube. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a like. And I would challenge you guys, if you are listening, to comment. Give us one comment. Do you think these ideologies help men or hurt them? And I know we've sort of gone both ways on it. So I think we do, we argue both points. But in your opinions, do you think they're hurtful? Do you think they're helping men go a better way, or do you think it sort of creates more tribalism and more extreme thinking? So, do let us know in the comments what you think. And Johnny, I'll let you close the show out.
All right, guys. Yeah, appreciate you guys watching. There'll be a lot more topics. Like I said, this is just us in our 40s, what we've done, what we're doing, why these topics are important to us. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. I don't really have much else to say. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching the playbook. See you next time.